So today I'm answering a question that I got in my email. As you know, the past couple of days, I've been asking you to send me your questions and so that we can address them live. And so I got a number of questions from you guys. So I just picked one and I thought, let's run with it. Let's go with this one. And I liked this question because it's one that's just comes so commonly. It's an issue that many of us in relationships and marriage deal with. Oh my gosh, you guys, I look crazy. My email address is leslie at fashiondujourdaily.com. That's Leslie at fashiondujourdaily.com. And it's in the title of this scope also. So a couple of days ago, like I said, I started asking you guys to send me questions on dating, relationships, marriage, communication, all those things, so that I could address them live. Leave you anonymous, but address the question live, and hopefully help others that might have those same questions. So that's what we're doing today. We're dedicating Fridays to kind of a question and answer for those of you who email your questions in. So the question that I got was how to deal with financial situations, with difficult financial struggles in marriage, and how to, work with your husband in a way that's not, that's healthy, right? So isn't that a question a lot of us have? I think finances are among the top reasons that people divorce, that people get into, arguments and all that kind of stuff. So this was a really great question, right on time. And I laughed because I was like, gosh, this is such a common question. I don't know why I hadn't talked about it before. But yeah, so I mean, I think just finances in general. Yeah, great question, right? Finances in general for people are something that we like to keep private, right? Whether we're good at managing our finances or not so great at managing our finances, it's usually something that we're not out sharing with everyone. And so when you, as an individual, come into your marriage, whether you're a good steward of your resources or not, you're joining someone else who is either a good steward of their resources or not. So when you put that together, you're both having to figure out how to make your budget work, how to see eye to eye, how to be on one accord when it comes to managing the household finances. We talked a little bit before about the man being the head of the house, so forth and so on. And because the man is the head of the house, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's the one that will be responsible for all the finances. If the wife, is better at managing finances, then by all means, I think that should be something that should be delegated to her to do. But the point is there should be a collaborative effort to make sure the finances are in order. To address the question again was, what do you do when you are having financial difficulties in marriage? And specifically, the question mentioned that one of the parties was not working. So making ends meet is very hard for them right now. And so I truly believe, you guys, hey, Soraya, I truly believe, you guys, that finances are just one area that the enemy will use to divide. If it's not finances, it'll be something else. It'll be an addiction. It'll be some other issue that comes into your marriage to divide. And so just as you would attack any other issue, again, whether it's an addiction, whether it's, something else, just as you would work together to address that problem, the same is true when it comes to finances. I think with finances, we feel so much more like we have to be in control of it because it's our livelihood in a sense. It's how it just touches every part of our lives, where we live, what we eat, how we get from place to place. Money is just intertwined in everything that we do. So that's why we feel so much that we need to keep control of what we're spending and so forth. Candace says, I just need help keeping the house clean. So, you know, when you are in the struggle of not being able to make ends meet, we have to first recognize that the problem that we're having, yes, it's a problem, but the anger that we feel about it, the frustration that we feel about the problem should not be directed at our spouse. We should not be directing our anger and frustration at our spouse. We need to make sure that all of our energy is focused on whether it's finding a job, whether it's reworking your budget, whether it's, you know, talking to a financial strategist or what have you. We need to put our efforts, our frustration, all of that energy towards the solution, towards finding a solution. And we do have a tendency, because we're in the flesh, we're human, it's just, we have feelings. We do have a tendency to explode. We do have a tendency not to not direct our energies in that way. And instead we end up getting in arguments with our spouses, you know, and things get rough. Things get rough, you know. But again, like I said, I fully believe that if it's not finances, if it's not an addiction, if it's not some other kind of struggle, there is always going to be something to challenge the strength of your marriage, you know, throughout the span of your marriage. And it may not be finances for you. For you, your challenge might be, you know, your husband or your spouse is always on the internet, or is, you know, doing things that don't contribute to the home. And that is another way that, again, the enemy comes in to divide. So when you're talking about finances, as I say with everything, it's important that we are prayerful. It's important that we are keeping an open line of communication, and that we are being consistent, you guys. So, you know, if the both of you have decided to put your heads together and figure out, you know, a way to get on top of your finances, then you need to be consistent with it. You know, of course you pray over it. Of course you, you know, figure out a plan. So you're communicating, but then again, you have to be consistent with the plan that you put together. If you put together a budget but you don't use it, it's not going to help. You know, you kind of just wasted your time. So all of those, you know, the actual work into putting a budget together, you know, that is something that you guys can do. You guys can do that. Whether your income is, you know, 5 digits or 10 digits, you know, you know what you're bringing into the home. So you both need to work together to figure out, what does that mean that you have to cut? What does that mean that you can allow? You know, what are your allowances? What are the areas that you need to, you know, make adjustments in? And so, like I said, you can do that. Anybody can do that. The struggle is in how you handle yourself emotionally, how you handle your frustrations and your anger. And I think that's what causes the problem in the marriage. Not the fact that you're going through these financial struggles. Yes, that's hard. Yes, you know, a lot of what our livelihood depends on the finances that we bring into the home. But the livelihood of our marriage, the livelihood of a successful, healthy, happy marriage depends on how you react in these situations, how you're handling these struggles with your spouse. You know, how are you reacting to him when he says, we don't have enough money to pay for you to get your hair done this month? Or, you know what I mean? You have to, you know, if your husband were to respond like that, are you responding to him in a way that's like, well, why aren't you bringing more money in? Or, you know, are you attacking, or are you standing back and saying, yeah, you know, I know what the budget is, and yeah, you're right. So I need to figure out something else for this month. You know, how are you addressing the problem? You know what the problem is. The problem is there's a lack of money, but how are you addressing it? What's your attitude towards the problem? Are you allowing, you know, yourself to explode on your husband? Are you allowing yourself to say things that you shouldn't say? You know, and these are times where it's hard to guard your mouth. It's hard to show love and compassion and be intimate. It's hard to do that when you have the stress of finances over your head. It's hard. You feel like you're suffocating. Hey, Kestrel, thanks for joining us. But again, like I said, you guys, I really believe that if it's not finances, it'll be something else to test your marriage. It'll be something else to see what you're made of. All of these things come to see what your marriage is made of, to see how you'll react, to see if, this will be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and you say, you know what, you throw your hands up and you say, yeah, I'm done with this. All of these are tactics, the enemy's tactics to try to bring divide in our marriages, in our Christian marriages. And so, like I said, whether it's finances, whether it's an addiction, whether it's whatever it is, there's always going to be something. There's not a marriage in this world that has never had an issue, never had, drama, not a marriage in this world. How we address it, how we attack those problems is what makes the difference between a healthy, long-lasting, strong marriage and one that ends up in divorce court. So we need to make sure that we are prayerful, you guys, like I said, prayerful, that we are maintaining open communication and that we are consistent. And if you're not being open, if you're the one in the family that manages the finances and you're not being open with your spouse about what's going on, then you're going to cause problems. He's not going to be able to trust you, not only with the finances, but with other things. It'll cause issues in other areas of your marriage. So make sure when it comes to finances, when it comes to any issue in marriage, you guys, again, whether it's finances, addictions, whatever it is, make sure that you are addressing the problem and not the person. Make sure that you're addressing the problem and not the person, because again, it opens the door for the enemy to come in, and it's just, the enemy is 1 inch closer to making a divide in your marriage, and that's his ultimate goal, right? That's the ultimate goal of the enemy, to divide our marriages and to keep us apart, to separate us from the Lord. So when it comes to, I hope this helps address the question. Again, the question that was emailed to me was how to address financial struggles in a marriage. One party's working, one party's not. And how do you address those frustrations that we feel? I think sometimes we fall into the trap of associating the frequency of our arguments with the health of our marriage. And I don't think that's always something that you can, put on a scale. So the whole point of what I'm getting at is when you have these struggles, whether they're financial, whatever they might be, make sure that you're getting at the problem, and that you're not pitting yourselves against each other, and that you're working together to figure it out. You should be always praying over your marriage. If your husband is the one that makes the decisions when it comes to finances, pray that God will give him the wisdom to figure these things out, and the wisdom to come to you and talk to you about it. Or maybe you guys need to seek financial support or financial advice from a professional. Then by all means, take that road. But you should be always praying over your union and over your finances, your household, etc. Make sure you're communicating about what the true status of your financial standing is, and then be consistent. If you sit there, you guys take the time to make a budget, take the time to stick to it too, so that you don't find yourself having the same conversation in 2 months, 3 months down the road. All right, so I hope that was helpful. If you have more questions that you want to send my way, I hope you do. You can send them to leslie@fashiondujourdaily.com. It's in the title of this scope. I need to get myself together, you guys. But thanks for joining, and I hope that was helpful, like I said.